Now that the 2024 election is behind us, President-elect Donald Trump has a lot of very good things to say about Project 2025. Wait a minute. You can recall during the 2024 presidential campaign, because it wasn't all that long ago, Trump had distanced himself from the 900-page initiative. In fact, he went so far as to call some parts, quote, ridiculous and abysmal. Oh. In fact, back in July, he wrote on Truth Social. Okay.
Truth essential.
I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. And maybe it's because it polls really badly. The American people not in favor of Project 2025. However, on Thursday, in Time's Person of the Year interview, yes, Donald Trump is Time's Person of the Year. Okay. Hey, other notable figures were also Person of the Year. So, I mean, let's be fair about that. It doesn't mean that they're a good person, okay, to be Person of the Year. But hey, I mean, when you're looking from a historical perspective, having Donald Trump win in 2016 by nobody expected him to win in 2016. All right. They're like, okay, yeah, okay. So he won in 2016, had to have been a fluke. Crazy, right? Loses in 2020. All right. And then comes back and wins in 2024. Not so much of a fluke. Okay. Not so much of a fluke. So yeah, I mean, Time Person of the Year kind of deserved, honestly, because once again, it's not an endorsement of the person, but there's an interesting story here, and that story is about the failure of America. Okay, for electing this guy, and so it's a terrible story to tell, but there it is. That said, I know I got off on a little bit of a tangent here, but there it is. I mean, he also said in this Time interview, I don't disagree with everything in Project 2025, but I disagree with some things. Oh, okay. Which things? Which things? Oh, right. You can't really point that out. He then said, I specifically didn't want to read it because it wasn't under my auspices. Okay. And I wanted to be able to say that, the only way I can say I have nothing to do with it is if you don't read it. Oh, okay. It's a bit of a weird, logic that he's got going on here. If I don't read it, it doesn't exist. You see, you can't link it back to me if I just don't read it. Right. Okay. He said, I didn't want to read it. I read enough about it. Oh, okay. They have some things that are very conservative and very good. They have other things that I don't like. Can he give you an example of either of those things? What does he like about it? What does he not like about that? This is like asking him about the Bible. Okay, 2 Corinthians or something. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. No examples. In fact, he goes on saying, I won't go to individual items, but I had nothing to do with Project 2025. Well, we're not saying that you wrote it, dude. But the main question here is whether or not he agrees with some of the more disastrous parts about Project 2025. Like the increasing the power of the executive branch, that kind of stuff. Very, very concerning stuff in there. Okay. And he said, now, if we had a few people that were involved, they had hundreds of them. This is a big document, from what I understand. It's a big document, from what I understand.
Water, big water, ocean water.
It's a big document, giant document. Okay. Look, here's the thing, though. Donald Trump has nominated a lot of people who have contributed to Project 2025. and they're going to serve in some very powerful positions. Okay, Chief of Staff, Russell Vought. Okay, but that's okay, though, because, Trump doesn't have anything to do with Project 2025 because it's a big document. Right. No, here's the thing. So he gets into why the real reason that he didn't like Project 2025, because people don't like it. Quote, they complicated my election by doing it because people tried to tie me, and I didn't agree with everything in there. And some things I vehemently disagreed with. Again, no more examples, okay? No specifics. And I thought it was inappropriate that they would come out with a document like that prior to my election. I thought it was a very foolish thing for them to do. Oh, wow. Okay. Look, I do believe it when he says I didn't read it. Because you can't get this guy to sit and read anything. Okay, it's 900 pages. No, of course he's not going to. The man can barely sustain the attention to read anything longer than a tweet. All right. So, hey, and again, the logic here is if you don't know what's in it, how can you dislike it? Right? I mean, or how can I like it if I don't read it? Okay, then. Here's the thing, though. And it's bad news. Regardless of what Donald Trump says in this interview, right? We're getting Project 2025. It's not even up to him anymore, okay? Once Donald Trump's in power, he's going to hand over the government to basically the Heritage Foundation goons, okay? And then he's going to go golfing, okay? If it doesn't affect him, he doesn't care about it. That's one of the problems, all right? And look, NBC News reported that the Trump transition teams is using a LinkedIn-style database compiled by Project 2025 to identify staff for the incoming administration. So, no, what they're going to do, and I know Trump's like, no, I get a bunch of people who are loyal to me, so of course they're not going to do Project 2025 if I don't want them to. But a lot of the stuff that's in Project 2025, you have already pointed to as, this is the policy I'm going to do. A lot of the immigration stuff, for example, okay? Getting rid of these federal agencies, reclassifying workers so that as political appointees, so you could fire them and appoint loyalists. That's all Project 2025. Making it easier to go after social media companies by making them liable for the content that's put on their platforms. I mean, like I'm sure there's a few things that you disagree with, like banning porn, okay? Even though that's mainly used as a way to try to go after trans people. So basically you put a picture of a trans person online or, whatever, and suddenly that's classified as pornography, even though it might not show anything. It's just regular trans person doing their thing, right? Just living their life. That's pornographic. Got to take it down. A way to try to destroy, transgender people to get them out of public life, right? And that's mainly what that policy is about. And then, of course, going after gay marriage, expanding that to, showing same-sex couples. And there's a lot of ways that they can use this so-called, pornography ban to go after members of the LGBTQ plus community. That's why it's a disaster. I don't think Donald Trump cares about that issue. I honestly do not think that Trump really cares about the LGBT community one way or the other, okay? I mean, Caitlyn Jenner, Trump's letting her use whatever bathroom she wants, right, at Mar-a-Lago, right? And so he does not care about that stuff. The stuff that Donald Trump cares about is stuff that directly affects him, okay? So, look, he wants to pay less in taxes. He doesn't want his businesses to be as regulated. That's the stuff that he's going to focus on. Anything else, he doesn't care. But what sucks there is that he doesn't care one way or the other. He's not going to be for it, or he's not really going to be against a lot of the stuff that Project 2025 wants to do. He'll be for it if it helps him. But again, he's not running for office, hopefully, okay, in the next election. So he doesn't care what Republicans do. Like, when it comes to these social issues, it doesn't matter to him. It's not going to affect him, so he doesn't care. Go ahead and do whatever you want to the transgender community. Go ahead and do whatever you want to the gay community. Go ahead and do whatever you want with abortion. Doesn't matter to Donald Trump. As long as he's got pay, as long as he's able to pay less in taxes and have no regulation and be able to get away with robbing the American public. Because again, that's the whole point of Donald Trump. His presidency is to rob the American public, rob the taxpayer, rob the government, and get away with it. It's the biggest robbery we'll ever see. Okay? That's the whole point of Trump. But as far as that other stuff in Project 2025, a lot of that stuff is going to help him. It's going to empower him by crippling government agencies, oversight, consumer protection. So that only helps him. So he doesn't care about that. He's going to let that happen. And as far as the other stuff, he's not going to speak out against it. That's a sad fact. All right. And so, look, the agenda, Project 2025, makes a number of recommendations that Trump's already proposed. And so whether Trump knows it or not, doesn't matter. Get ready, because Project 2025, it's coming. With just a month before the second Trump administration begins, House Republicans have already set their sights on gutting the IRS's free direct tax filing program. So this is part of their way to try to destroy the IRS, but in doing so, they're also targeting a program that would actually save taxpayers money. More than 24 House Republicans sent a letter to President-elect Donald Trump asking him to terminate the program on his first day. As if, that's something that the American people are clamoring for. I want to pay more for tax filing and preparation. Yes, I'm sure that's why they carried Trump to the White House. Seriously. Republican Representatives Adrian Smith of Nebraska and Chuck Edwards of North Carolina sent a letter to the president-elect on Tuesday urging him to end the program via executive order, saying that it posed a, quote, threat to taxpayers, freedom from government overreach. The letter was signed by 27 other Republicans and is also addressed to Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the co-heads of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, which is not a real department. Direct File, which was introduced as a pilot program in 12 states in the last tax filing season and is set to be expanded in 24 states and to more than 30 million eligible taxpayers this year, is a, quote, free, easy way for people to file their taxes directly online with the IRS, according to Senator Elizabeth Warren. Look, instead of doing it yourself, which sucks, I know, or paying a company like H&R Block or TurboTax $150 to do it for you, which also sucks, this is free. It's already got all the information, right? I love the idea, the argument here from Republicans that, preparing your taxes, that you file with the government, so you're giving them that information, even though the government already has access to that information, is somehow going to lead to less freedom and government overreach, even though you're giving them that information anyway, just to let them file it on your behalf, that you're supposed to do it anyway. I mean, how exactly are you losing freedom there, everybody? I don't know. How is paying a private corporation to do it for you in any way better? I mean, it seems like Republicans just want to slip a middleman into it so they can get paid. Okay. Look, when it comes to things like tax prep, I would rather go the free government option than the BS that I'm paying out of the nose for. I'm sorry. No, F these companies. They suck. Some of the workers, tax preppers, the CPAs, are lovely people who don't get paid enough to do what they're doing, right? It's not them that I have a problem with. It is the corporation that I have a problem with that doesn't pay people enough and that lobbies, it spends millions of dollars lobbying members of Congress to prevent things like free file, okay? While lying about their own free file options, okay? That's the other thing. No, look, and this, by the way, goes to the real reason that Republicans are trying to get rid of this, okay? Intuit, which reported a net income of $2 billion in 2023, okay, spent $3.5 million on federal lobbying the previous year and over $90 million in lobbying within the past 2 decades, all in order to crush things like this, okay? Now, what happened when the pilot program was opened up? Well, turns out people saved a lot of money. That's right. Filers saved an estimated $5.6 million in tax prep fees on their federal returns alone. So, yeah, that's just in 12 states. Imagine how much money they'll save if it's rolled out to every state. They're talking a lot of money, but unfortunately for these companies, the $5.6 million did not go into the pockets of the tax prep industry. That's right. And so, can't have that. No, we got to make sure the middleman gets paid.
Can't let that happen.
I can't let the government have its own public option. And that's what this is, by the way. That's what this is. So, well, okay. Here's the thing, though. They use these filers use a public option, right? But I get told all the time by weirdos, okay, bootlickers, that government, they can't do anything right. Government option sucks. It's going to suck. Really? Well, they asked more than 15,000 direct file users who completed a follow-up survey, okay, designed to gather user feedback and inform the IRS's decision about whether to make the pilot program permanent. Here are the results from that. 86% of respondents say that the experience increased their trust in the IRS. Increased the trust in the IRS. Again, nobody likes paying taxes, all right? I'm a progressive. I still don't like paying taxes, okay? Especially filing them because it's a pain in the ass. But like, if 86% of respondents that use this service to pay their taxes, something that nobody likes doing, is like, you know what? Actually, this makes me trust the IRS more. That's huge. 90% of respondents who use Direct File's customer service options rated that experience as, quote, excellent or above average. Wow. And then 80% of respondents said that they would recommend Direct File to a friend or family member. Wow. Only 6% of respondents were detractors who reported a negative experience. I'm wondering, though, if those 6% were actually tax prep lobbyists. Probably. Or these senators. Bad negative reviews. I hate this. I hate this. I'm saving money. I hate this. Now, Smith and Edwards, by the way, argued in their letter that the program represented a, quote, conflict of interest for the IRS. It's a ridiculous argument. The agency shouldn't be in charge of both assessing and enforcing taxes. They also wrote the agency has, quote, little incentive to ensure hardworking Americans do not pay more than they owe in taxes. Well, wait, but that's true for if you're using these tax prep services, you're also there. It's on you to provide the information to make sure that you get every single deduction that you're qualified for. Okay. So, but it is funny that they would say that, because here's the thing. According to the FTC, tax prep companies constantly pressure people into overpaying for their tax prep. So we're talking about overpaying, right? In this case, Republicans are like, you're going to overpay the IRS. But in reality, people are overpaying the prep services. Yeah. But Republicans aren't worried about that. because that money is going to a private middleman corporation that then turns around and uses some of that money to bribe those same politicians into saying stupid things like that. They also cast the free direct file program as an example of the weaponization of government against Americans. Isn't it, my God, wouldn't it be so nice to be in a position of power where you could just make shit up? You don't have to back it up with any facts. You just say it. They just say whatever they want. The weaponization of government. How? It actually helps American citizens. It does their taxes for them without charging them. That's awesome. Being a Republican politician would be just so mind-numbingly easy. All you would have to do is just have no conscience, be able to lie your ass off, and then collect legal bribes. Great if you can do it. Not so good if you have a soul. I mean, these people are out there literally telling you that you should have to pay to file your taxes. What? And by the way, it's not like you have a choice. You have to file your taxes or else you go to prison. Okay? Unless, of course, you're wealthy. Then, well, that's a different story. Wealthy people generally don't go to prison, okay, for tax evasion or not paying their taxes. And here's the thing, too. The IRS under Republicans, because it keeps getting gutted, funding taken away from the IRS when it comes to enforcement, okay, they don't have the resources to go after rich people. But they got to go after somebody. So who are they allowed to go after? Average people. Poor people. That's it. Lower income people. Okay. And by the way, lower income people and regular people, we're the ones who benefit the most from free direct file and will lose out if Republicans get rid of it. So, and that's the reality here. But now what's interesting here, though, is there are people that are fighting back, and I want to highlight this one because I think it's a really good tactic, right? This comes from Vice President of Tax Policy Chuck Marr at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. He said that Republicans who signed Wednesday's letter are essentially pushing for a tax on paying taxes. That's really good. He said, why do Republicans want to force people to have to pay just to file their taxes? A tax on paying taxes? If not for the corporate lobby behind it, one would think this would be the least Republican idea ever. And there it is. And by the way, it would be. And actually, it's not even like a conservative versus a progressive idea, right? It's just a good idea. And, making so that people don't have to pay to file their taxes that they're required to do. It's like a no-brainer. But remember, the Republican Party is not conservative. It is not small government. It's not for efficient government. No, it's for corporate corruption. That's it. That's the vehicle that corporations use to corrupt our government and to get public money to flow into private hands. That's all it's for, okay? And so, obviously, this Republican government is for privatization, which is going to get you as a consumer higher costs, worse services, but in return, it makes a small group of elite people very, very wealthy. And that's who these congressmen ultimately work for. You ask average, everyday Republicans, you explain what's going on, what this program is, you're going to be like, yeah, no, it's a great idea. You ask their politicians, a lot of them are going to be like, no, government overreach, this is a terrible idea. And it's because those same politicians are paid off and bribed by these tax prep companies. There's plenty of outrage online after a Florida woman was arrested for allegedly threatening her insurance company. 42-year-old mother of 3 was arrested after police said that she had ended a call to her insurance company, Blue Cross Blue Shield, with the words delay, deny, depose after they had denied her claim. In an arrest affidavit, the Lakeland Police Department said officers were contacted by the FBI on Tuesday, December 10th, regarding an alleged threat made over the phone. According to the arrest affidavit, Brianna Boston called the company regarding her claims, was denied, and then said, delay denied depose, you people are next. The affidavit noted the similarities between the incidents, stating that those words have become nationally recognized as a phrase directed against insurance companies. Wait, hold on. You know what's funny? It's almost word for word the tactics used by the insurance companies to fight legitimate claims. And where do you think Luigi Mangione got those words? Delay, deny, defend. So, nonetheless, she uses those words. I mean, I gave you the quote already, and then she gets charged with making terroristic threats. Boston was charged with threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism. First off, wait, hold on here. Mangione did not do a mass shooting. He did an assassination. It was a murder. But that's not terrorism. But they're like, in Florida, threatening an insurance company is terrorism. I don't agree with that. So now the police went to her home, obviously, and checked it out. And she admitted to using those words during the call, telling detectives that, quote, healthcare companies played games and deserved karma from the world because they are evil. I can't disagree with that. I think she's 100% on that, especially when it comes to they are evil. Yes, they are. Boston, though, added that she does not own any firearms and was not a danger to anyone. Yeah. Based on Boston's statements, however, investigators said that they believe that she meant to threaten the insurance company, quote, by using the United Healthcare CEO's homicide to her advantage. Well, I mean, look, if these insurance companies can use whatever advantage they want, and after taking their money and then denying their care, I mean, turn a bar out should be fair play, isn't it? But apparently not. Look, here's the thing, though. I understand, like, okay, maybe you shouldn't threaten the people on the phone because they're not the ones setting the policy, right? And so, yeah, I don't agree with that. But I can understand getting very angry because they just denied her claim. That's how they make their money in the health insurance industry, by denying people's claims. And so, yeah, you're going to get a little mad about that. Now, she said, look, I saw this on TV. I saw this on the news. And I was like, okay, yeah. But when they followed up with her, they found that she doesn't own a gun. And she had told police, look, yeah, I said those things, but I'm not actually a danger to you. I'm not actually going to go out and do something like that. No, I was just mad. Unfortunately, Lakeland Police Chief Sam Taylor was not buying her story. He said, quote, she's been in this world long enough that she certainly should know better, and you can't make threats like that in the current environment that we live in and think that we're not going to follow up and put you in jail. In the current environment. Well, let's talk about the current environment for a second, right? Current environment is you can go out and get as many guns as you want, especially in Florida, okay? But you can't get health insurance if you can't afford it, okay? And even with health insurance, the companies can still deny you if you have a legitimate claim because they just don't feel like it. They don't feel like covering you. Oh, okay, so that's the current environment. And if you're mad about that and you say something vaguely threatening, well, then immediately, straight to jail. Whatever happened to the First Amendment? Whatever happened to that? Okay. Now, she readily admitted, according to Chief Taylor, yeah, that's exactly what I said, but I didn't mean anything by it. He then said, well, you don't get to pull that back after you say it. But insurance companies can pull back care even after you have been paying them for months. They're exorbitant premiums. They can pull back your care, and that's totally fine. So just pull the rug out from under you when you need them. violating their entire stated purpose. Okay. Again, insurance companies sell you a lie, basically. Oh, don't worry. We're going to be there when you need them, when you need us, you know? That's why you pay us, so that if something happens, we will come in. We will cover a majority of that. Well, it turns out, no, they lie about that. They pull the rug out from you when you need them the most. But apparently that's okay. Totally fine. No, what these companies do are worse than vague threats on the phone. Okay? These companies let people die, or they drain all their life savings and leave them destitute. Okay? That's what happens. But if you say that these companies are evil, the cops will come and lock you up. It's almost like these police, serve corporations and don't serve average people. Oh, wait, I have been saying that for quite some time. Okay. Now, again, here's the other thing, right? So women especially get threatened a lot, whether it be online or in person or on the phone. Talk to the cops if you're an average person going through that. And a lot of the times they're going to be like, nothing I can do. Sorry. But supposedly threaten an insurance company, and suddenly, oh, there's a lot that they can do. Oh, there's a ton they can do. Along with the so-called justice system. In fact, her attorney, Jim Headley, said to a judge during her first appearance, quote, "My client is 42, married mother of 3, never had any criminal charges or convictions. May you release her on her own recognizances." That's just meaning like, hey, don't throw her in jail before the trial. So she's still going to get a trial. There are still charges that are being pressed. Okay. And so releasing her does not mean that you're letting her go free. You're just saying, oh, on your own recognizance. But apparently the judge was like, no, we need to set an example. They set her bond at $100,000. $100,000. Talk about overkill for a mother of 3. And the whole purpose, of course, is to keep her in prison to make an example of her. That's the problem. Here's what he said. "I do find that the bond of $100,000 is appropriate considering the status of our country at this point." This woman with no record is apparently so much of a danger that they had to put her in jail with $100,000 bond. There are rapists in prison that get a lower bond amount than this woman. Chew on that for a minute. I mean, this is insane. This is insane. And by the way, it's not like she said, "I'm going to come and do this." No, it said, she said that, delay, deny, depose. You people are next. That could easily be taken as a statement of fact if things don't change. All right. I mean, I'm worried that more and more people, and this is a legit concern here. Okay. I don't want more Luigi Mangiones to happen. Okay. I don't want people taking justice or the law into their own hands. I don't want that. And you shouldn't want that either. But that's why we need universal guaranteed health care. Okay? 68,000 Americans die every year because they either cannot afford insurance or they have insurance and can't afford to use it. That's insurance that they pay for every single month. According to a study published in the American Journal of Public Health last year, medical expenses and medical problems causing work loss contributed to 66.5% of bankruptcies. So 2/3 of all bankruptcies in this country are for medical. That does not happen in other countries. All right? Tying healthcare to your job? That is an incredibly disastrous idea. And the result is you follow the rules, you work hard, you buy your insurance, you pay your premiums every month, you get sick, and then you think, well, that's okay. I mean, insurance will cover it. That's what it's for, right? And then they say, nope, yeah, no, we're not going to cover that. They deny you. They tie you up on the phone for months on end while you're not getting the care that you need. And then you end up either going bankrupt or you die. More often than not, 2/3 of all bankruptcies are from medical issues. This is our system. We have a system of legalized violence. It is violence. As AOC recently told CBS, quote, I think for anyone who is confused or shocked or appalled, they need to understand that people interpret and feel and experience denied claims as an act of violence against them. Yeah, it is like an act of violence. Poverty is violence. No one wants this violence. No one wants this to happen. But they're not getting it. Okay? The people in power, people in charge, they're not understanding where the anger is coming from. They're not understanding that the system is broken for so many people, okay, that it leads to this kind of outrage. Their entire plan is not to change the system, it's to security up, and to go after mothers of 3 who happen to get a little angry on the phone. I mean, it's insane. Now, the response online, a lot of it is in favor of Brianna. In fact, Lindsay Ballon writes on X, 100K bond for this is legit chilling. They're so scared of an uprising. And she's right. They are evil. You should be able to say to a health insurance company to their face how evil they are and that they deserve the wrath that they're facing for being so evil. Wow. Now, there's an example, by the way, of health insurance companies being evil. According to ProPublica, leaked documents show that United Health is aggressively targeting the treatment of thousands of children with autism across the country in an effort to cut costs. Optum, whose parent company, United Health Group, earned $22 billion in net profit last year, is heavily investing in a plan to save millions of dollars by limiting access to this kind of care. Care for autistic children. They're like, we don't want to cover it because it costs us too much money. In addition to culling providers from the network, you're making them out of network, which effectively means that we're not going to pay for it. The company is scrutinizing the medical necessity of therapy for individual patients with rigorous clinical reviews, which can lead to denials of covered treatment. So what's more evil than making sure to deny autistic children care? That's pretty freaking evil. Now, more responses here. This is on X. The Deja King writes, they put her on jail on 100K bond. She was sobbing in court and admitted to detectives she only heard delayed denied to pose on TV and was upset, so she said it. This feels like they're trying to send a message to the masses after Luigi, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Well, there are others who absolutely knew how they feel about it. One said, a 100K bond is absolutely a tyrannical display of power on the law's end. Not okay in the slightest. Another, real name hidden, writes, they're going to bully and make an example out of people who can't afford legal help. Forge naturally writes, they're trying to tell us peasants to stay in line or they will ruin our lives further. Another said, she's done nothing more than exercise her right to free speech. There was no threat there. Oligarchy trying to intimidate the general populace, it's going to backfire. Others have pointed out that this was an overreaction from the police state, and I actually agree with that. Because remember, police only really exist to protect the rich and powerful, not to protect suburban mothers of 3. All right? They will always take the side of giant corporations. You know why? Because, well, that's who runs this country. That's where the power is. The judge's own statement had reflected that. At the end of the day, the court system, police, they're just wanting to prevent the masses from getting a little too uppity and demanding that the government and the corporations actually start to work for our benefit instead of just their own. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is attempting to block Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's bid to chair the House Oversight Committee. Interesting, because of course she is, right? Now, Pelosi, instead of backing AOC, who would be excellent, she is pushing Representative Jerry Connolly, Democrat of Virginia, to win the high-ranking role, and is actively working to tank AOC's bid while making calls on behalf of Connolly, according to Punchbowl News. Now, the report adds that Pelosi's behind-the-scenes maneuvering displays the sheer amount of political capital she is willing to put into Connolly's campaign, the verdict of which will be decided next week. Whoever takes the committee's top spot will be tasked with the job of closely watching President-elect Donald Trump's upcoming administration. So it is a very important job, very much coveted. Okay, again, over like being able to watch over the Trump administration. Now that would also be a pretty difficult job, right? Which is why I would take AOC over Connolly. Look, I really don't have any issues with Jerry Connolly, honestly. But my, read of this is he's 74 years old, okay, and he's got esophageal cancer. So I would think that at this point in time, he's got a lot more important things to worry about, like, his health, right? And I would rather have someone who can fully commit to chairing a committee that is going to be instrumental in being a watchdog when it comes to the Trump administration, because guaranteed they're going to do a lot of shady shit. Okay, so yes, I would definitely prefer AOC here. I do think that both of them probably would end up doing a good job. Again, if Connolly was able to focus on the job. But the question here then is, why is Pelosi trying so hard to block Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? And I think it's because of power. Okay, I definitely think it's power. I think it has a lot to do with the future of the Democratic Party and who the Democratic establishment wants to have these positions of power. Again, this is a pretty important position, as I mentioned before. Very, very high ranking. So the establishment thought is AOC hasn't put in her time yet. See, here's the thing. Democrats have a bit of an age problem. A lot of the leaders are pretty old and have been there for a very, very long time. Some of them are disconnected from any progressive movement. And so the younger progressives that have come in, like members of the squad, AOC, etc., they present a bit of a new guard issue, right? And so they're the vanguard of younger progressive members, and they don't get along with the older, more centrist-y type of Democrats, okay? Look, there are wonderful young progressive leaders like AOC who have the energy, they have the drive, they have the right policies too, okay, in order to start winning. Like things like Medicare for all, which is very, very important. And so, unfortunately, people like Nancy Pelosi and some of the old guard Democrats who taken a lot of money from insurance companies, lobbyists, etc., they're holding on to power. These are the old liberals. And I'm not saying that they're bad people, okay? But I think they've been in power in office for too long and are disconnected and they're too Washington, they're too Beltway, and they're not really all that far to the left when it comes to issues that matter, especially economic issues, okay? And for Pelosi, people like her are far too worried about seniority, okay? And so that's one of the problems. Now, one of the representatives was asked why they support Jerry Connolly, and basically the answer was seniority. He asked me first, and he's paid his dues, he is a friend, and is a thoughtful member of the committee. I have known Jerry a long time. This is Linda Sanchez from California. He served on that committee for 16 years. He is excellent at what he does. All right, so again, It's Jerry's turn, basically. No disrespect to Jerry Connolly, right? Maybe he would do a good job, but I think he's, again, got too many other important things to worry about. And again, I would rather have someone who has the time and the energy to be an effective watchdog against Donald Trump. AOC can do that. She's an effective speaker. I know. That's ironic, right? She's an effective speaker. She's incredibly smart. And she's actually started to figure out how to play politics. All right. Playing politics is not something that the left is good at. I'm going to be very, very honest with that. We do not know how to get power. Okay. And don't necessarily know how to wield it either when we do get it. AOC, though, is learning. And of course, that's why some of the left is mad at her because, again, she has to, she can't just push the Medicare for all button, okay? She does not have a socialism button in front of her that she can press at any time that will automatically give us everything that we would want, okay? She doesn't do that. She doesn't have that. And one of the funny charges against her is that, she's got that button in front of her, she won't push it. What? No. Look, sometimes when you're trying to build coalitions in order to win, you might have to not, have certain positions that you're on the forefront, okay? You might have to have some of those positions take a back seat until you get a winning majority. In fact, Representative Becca Balint says, we always talk about winning coalitions, but that's really what she's doing, AOC. Like, we're looking at 2026. We have stuff that we want to get done. We're not going to get it done unless we have seats in the House. And that gets me back to the Democrats' old guard problem. There are not enough progressives in office to actually effectively do anything. And you still have people like Nancy Pelosi that have a huge amount of influence among the membership. Look, AOC, she has not stopped being progressive. Has she taken votes and said things that I don't agree with? Yeah, of course. She's a human being. I know, like, there's always this big issue about, like, oh, this person said something that I disagree with. She is no longer a leftist. No longer progressive. Well, hold on here. Okay. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that, yes, progressive, it's kind of a wide tent. But here's the thing. She's never stopped believing in Medicare for all. Okay. She's never stopped believing in that kind of stuff. Higher wages, a living wage for, working people. She's never stopped believing in those progressive positions that she has had. And yes, I know she has said things that I disagree with. And that happens because you're not always going to 100% agree with every single person in every single position that they have. All right? You can't get 100%. But if you're at 99%, I'll take it. And with AOC, it's 99%. Now, here's the other thing, too. We don't really have the luxury as progressives right now because we have no institutional power to get every single policy that we want. So yeah, you kind of have to play politics. You have to learn how Washington works in order to try to institute inside change. And look, inside change, you could argue, well, it doesn't work. Well, I think it does, but you also have to have outside pressure. You actually also have to have a political movement that is backing you, that has the power to be able to, for example, win primaries. That's the big thing. Primaries right now are where progressives go to die. Okay? That's where we get stopped every single time, is especially in presidential primaries. But it's not just about presidential primaries. It is about primaries all over the country. It is about running in elections all across the states, all across the country, in order to win not only statewide office, but also congressional offices. And that is a very difficult thing to do, and it is time consuming, and it is frustrating because the needs that we have as progressives we need them now. We need climate action now. We need healthcare now. We need all this stuff now. But the way our system works ensures that, no, we don't get things now. And that's what's frustrating about it. But none of this shows that, none of this is AOC's fault. And none of this is, Bernie Sanders' fault or anybody's fault. Except for, giant corporations and lobbyists. And it definitely is their fault. But it's also the way that the system has been designed from the beginning to be a slow, deliberative process. But here's the thing, though. If we actually do get more progressives and leftists in government and then get them to ascend the ranks, then getting good stuff passed is more likely to happen. But again, you need to get these people into power and into these positions. Now, getting back to AOC in this position, she's got a good chance. She really does. That's why Nancy Pelosi's hair is on fire. She's pulling out all the stops. Both Connolly and AOC have declared that they both believe that they have the votes to win this, according to NBC News. According to Politico, most current Democrats on the Oversight Committee, which is stacked with some of the most liberal, outspoken members of the caucus, are expected to win to back Ocasio-Cortez, according to the dozen members and staffers. Wow. Okay, but the thing is, she will also need to be approved by the steering committee and policy committee. Steering and policy committee, as well as the full caucus. And so that Pelosi, she can definitely influence a lot of people in the full caucus. And so that's the issue. But AOC's got a chance. All right. If she wins, though, and this is why it really matters to Nancy Pelosi. A win by AOC challenges the control that Pelosi has on the party. If she wins, then it shows that Pelosi's power, her hold, is not like it used to be. It's not as ironclad. That means the Democrats could go in a more left populist direction, which I think is a good thing, okay? Because what we need is to do more left economic populism to take on and defeat the right wing. It's very clear now, okay? You look at the results of this election, which was not lost when it came to woke, okay? Or we defended trans people too much. When? Where? Okay? No. It turns out that Kamala Harris and the Democrats ran a very centrist campaign that was, their entire focus here was to try to appeal to conservative, never Trump Republicans in the suburbs. Turns out doing that while ignoring your progressive base, it's not a very viable strategy to win elections. And so the Democratic Party needs a new direction, new leadership, if they actually want to be a competitive party again. To no longer forget the left flank or ignore them, but to actually bring them in and to put progressives in leadership so that we can right the ship that is America and finally defeat the Republican Party. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you become a member on our YouTube page, you become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.